Now here's Ben Duffin with information on ethnicity and race.
There's been many conflicts between ethnic groups in the country of Egypt throughout its entire history. Most recently, though, in 2014, fighting began between an Arab and a Nubian community. This fighting started between them because of an Arab group drawing anti-Nubian graffiti on the walls of a Nubian community. When the Nubians saw this, they retaliated by going to the Arab community and started to killing people on the streets. Conflict between the two groups lasted for 4 days, starting on Friday and ending on Sunday evening. The government and the police are largely blamed for this because they did very little to end the killing and violence. Tension between the two groups had been going on for a while, mainly because the Nubian people being forcibly removed from their homeland because of the creation of a new dam that flooded their homeland. There is also conflict in Egypt between the Egyptians and the Africans. While Egypt is technically in Africa, the Egyptians don't see themselves as African and often discriminate against the Africans. Egyptians are often racist towards the Africans, and they often discriminate and dislike them. It is common to see Africans being yelled at or made fun of by Egyptians walking down the street. They are also often ignored at restaurants and shopping areas. Some of the different ethnic groups in Egypt are the Copts, a native Christian minority, Bedouins, a nomadic community that wanders the desert looking for water on camels, the Nubians that inhabit the narrow valley south of the city of Aswan, and the Fellahin, who are the rural peasants that make up most of the farming community and workforce. 95% of the population in Egypt is considered Egyptian, and they are mainly Muslim and monotheistic.
And now Caroline Roop with gender demographics in Egypt.
Hello everybody. Like he said, I am going to be talking about gender demographics in Egypt and a little bit of language. First off, the official language of the country of Egypt is Arabic. This language was spread to the country through Arab conquest. The diffusion of this language was caused by an Arab general who conquered Egypt, which then helped the language merge into Egypt and allowed other people to adopt it as a main language. On to gender. In Egypt, gender demographics can be very unequal, but some are understandable. Ages 15 years and older can read and write for the most part. Comparing the years of schooling on both male and females, the school life expectancy is 13 years, going from primary to tertiary education as of 2014. As you can see on the far left of the infographic, third graph down, the adult female literacy rate is significantly lower than the adult male literacy rate. This shows the inequality between men and women in education. In the workforce, women play a large role in working in agriculture. These statistics, however, are very unequal. In the bar graph on the far left, you can see that the percent of female unpaid employees has approximately tripled compared to the male unpaid workers. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, women make up only 5% of agricultural landowners in Egypt, as opposed to men making up the other 95% of agricultural landowners, even though the women play a larger role in that work field, which is surprising. Women are also often denied access to inheritance. All the women that work in agriculture, lots of them suffer from poverty. Surprisingly, Egyptologists are in agreement that women's status in ancient Egypt was better than many of the experiences that women go through in Egypt today. Though the literacy rates are still mostly even, 1/3 of Egypt's adult females are illiterate. On the opposite side of this, 85% of adult males are literate. This accounts for about 10 million women of ages 15 years or older that cannot read or write. Many still have not been able to earn a high school diploma. All of these things considered, women are considered a minority in the professional workforce in Egypt. Over 40% of the population of women in Egypt work in agriculture. This, by definition, means that the working in agriculture is one of the few jobs that women can uphold in Egypt. These inequalities cause women to question their nationalism to their country because it is so unequal. As for governmental positions, women have made a large impact on how many roles in parliament are filled. In 2016, 89 women were elected as members of the upcoming parliament, marking the highest female representation in Egypt's government history. Therefore, women make up 14.9% of the available seats in Egypt's parliament.
And lastly, Emmanuel with information on religion in
Today,
Egypt.
the population is mostly Sunni Muslim. As you can see on the infographic, around 94% of the population are followers of it. The main religions in Egypt are Christian, Islamic, and Jewish, and they are all monotheistic religions. They are developed around the same area of the Arabian Peninsula and the East Mediterranean. Their differences can come from one person, Jesus, as well as how they follow their teachings. The Christians believe that Jesus was the Son of God and they follow from the Holy Bible. The Muslims believe that Jesus was a prophet and they follow from the Quran and go by the 5 pillars of Islam. The Jewish people don't believe Jesus was the Son of God, but do still believe he lived, and they follow from the Torah. The Islamic religion, which is the dominant religion in Egypt, was spread in 642 AD due to a Muslim conquest. It has many sacred sites such as Mecca, Kaaba, and Jerusalem. Although most of the population is Sunni Muslim, there are a few Coptic Christians, which is a denomination from Christianity. These two religions don't get along though, and fighting between them is very common throughout the country. The fighting reaches peak when the famous terror organization group ISIS declared war on Egypt's Coptic Christians. However, more recently, the fighting has been reduced due to many peace efforts by both sides. In Egypt, globalization has not had a very large impact on the social aspects of the country, compared to the rest of the Middle East. But due to globalization, the country's economy has significantly improved due to the diffusion of Western technology. In just 5 years, their foreign investment increased from $450 million to $5 billion.